I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers, and this is This Week
in Cruton.
We're getting way better. This is way better.
You guys have got it down.
Is This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our recruiting analyst from Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowers79 and follow Next Level Athlete, our recruiting partner, on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Powers, first and foremost, which game did you go to last week?
Gosh, it's been
been 4 days.
It was Hebron, and Flower Mound Marcus.
And what'd you come away with from that game?
Well, the big thing that we didn't talk about it much last week, the linebacker who you were alluding to in our show was Marcel Brooks, who didn't play much linebacker but was an absolute freak on the offensive side of the football. This guy went off. He's a little bit bigger than he was this time 1 year ago, maybe grew it up to 2 inches, so he's longer. And Marcus is really using him more on offense than defense. He only came in on defense on third down the whole game. Towards the end of the game, he might have snuck on the field for a second down as they were trying to get the ball back. But Hebron was able to win that game behind a heroic effort from Trajan Bridges. Running back 2020 Jalen Lott also had a good game. But it was a fun game to attend. It was well contested. Absolutely.
Well, it's another week in Cruton here, and let's start, as we always do, with our commit of the week. And our commit of the week, we're going way up in the Panhandle to
glad to do it.
A running back from Amarillo, Tascosa, King Doru, who's the newest commitment to
Purdue.
Purdue
Boilermakers coming to Texas.
Big Ten.
And he picked Purdue over offers from schools like Arkansas, Baylor, TCU offered him, Texas Tech, closer to home. I would have thought that many would have felt like he would have went in that offense, but of course they've had a couple of young running backs emerge in this class. Maybe sees a bit better opportunity at early playing time in the Big Ten. And I have to give a shout out to Next Level Athletes Randy Rogers. Been in the recruiting game for a long time, and here's what he said about King last December of 2017.
Okay,
this was the scouting report.
Okay, so this was this is a while ago.
Plays like a Big Ten running back.
Wow. Okay. That's well, and he of course, Randy's got some history in the Big Ten. He was a coach at Illinois for a while, so yeah, he knows about that. But yeah, this is a guy who we've known about on the high school level for a while. This kid, and you know, he had offers from you're right, from a lot of those kind of grinded out schools, Minnesota,
right?
You know, schools like that. You know, Air Force gave him an offer and stuff like that. Arkansas, and then Tech. Which is like, you know.
Well, but Purdue plays in a more up-tempo offense. They run the triple option at Tascosa, so this is going to be an interesting move for him. He's going to be in a whole new offense, and we've seen the numbers that former Carrollton Creekview standout quarterback David Blau has been putting up over the last few weeks.
Yeah, they've made some inroads in Texas in recent years, has Purdue. Let's get to our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week is a guy we're pretty familiar with, a guy that I think most people are pretty familiar with. Texas commit Rashawn Johnson is back. I know he was nicked up a little bit earlier this year, but he once again personally victimized Crosby on Friday night.
And led them to a come-from-behind victory, if I'm not mistaken, and was selected for the Under Armour All-America game. Got his jersey presentation yesterday, and that's why he was picked as the recruit of the week. I think that game is going to give him the chance to really showcase what type of player he really is. He's continuously snuck up recruiting boards, which is kind of one of those things that I don't quite understand, because by and large, most of the people who are out watching Texas high school football consider him probably to be the number one guy in this class under center. I mean, I know Grant Gunnell at St. Pius X is a guy who would rival that. I mean, it's back and forth between those two guys, but I think Johnson's a gritty performer. He's a guy who led PNG into the playoffs, and I just like his upside and potential at Texas, where he's verbally committed.
Yeah, he's a guy who, you know, I think the injury slowed him down a little bit, and maybe he's fallen off of high school fans' radar a little bit because he's been nicked up. But he's as dangerous as ever, and you know, the thing that I think people see maybe the gaudy rushing numbers, and they might think of other kind of quarterbacks who ran the ball a lot, but this guy is a polished passer too. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He can do it all.
And he's a guy who's starting to mature physically, too. When you see his picture from the Under Armour presentation now, he looks completely different than he did 1 year ago. So his body's starting to change. He's all of 6'2", and he's probably pushing up to 200 pounds now. I think he'll probably play 210, 220 once he's in college, and he's a guy who can really do it all in the field. He can beat you with his arm or his leg.
Let's now move. We're talking with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete, our recruiting analyst here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation. Hashtag TF Today. Underclassman of the week. Let's go to the DFW Metroplex and talk about a guy at a young program, a young man, a junior, who is getting a lot of putting up pretty gaudy numbers offensively in a big-time offense. Midlothian Heritage wide receiver Jay Wilkerson is we know kind of about their quarterback situation with Landon Ledbetter, but one of the guys on the receiving end of this is Jay Wilkerson. Why is he kind of getting people's attention all of a sudden?
Well, he tripled his offer count this week. He picked up Texas Tech and North Texas to add to Tulsa, but that P5 offer is a big one for him. That really is the tipping point in a prospect development when you can secure a P5 offer, and from Texas Tech no less, who knows a little bit about wide receiver talent, I think. So they've got a lot of good wide receivers in that program. They started to cast their net for 2020 last week, and Wilkerson was one of those guys who picked up the offer. And you mentioned his numbers. He's already went for 482 yards and 7 touchdowns, and that's behind Langston Anderson, who's also on that Midlow Heritage team at wide receiver. So for splitting balls, his numbers are pretty good.
Yeah, they are. You know, one thing that can the only thing I'll say about Jay Wilkerson that I'd like to see is they list him. Coach Coach Wigginton at Heritage lists him at 6'1", 160. We gotta put some weight on before we get in the next year and a half, right? We gotta start hitting the buffet a little bit.
Talent wise, though, he's a guy that probably gets into that slot mix. I think in college, a longer slot receiver, because for 6'1", 165, he has good length. He could probably add some weight to his frame, like you pointed out. But I don't think you can. Maybe Max, I don't know. You're throwing a picture up of him as we're talking about him. You can kind of see his size to his frame. It's a 165, 160 that can hold and add weight. Got
it. Exactly. So let's now move on to our prospect on the rise. Prospect on the rise going down to the Houston area to Fort Bend Dulles. Aeneas Smith, cornerback out of Fort Bend Dulles. This kid is starting to get more and more noticed. I know he's got an offer list as long as your arm, but this guy is getting more and more attention as the season wears on. And
why I make him the prospect on the rise in this week's article, the Texas High School Football Dump, which you can read on TexasFootball.com every week, every Tuesday we post it up, is that he's a guy I feel like should go up the rankings boards. He's a little bit behind maybe statewide rankings where he should be, and it's probably because of he's a little undersized. It took him a while to emerge there on the field at Dulles, but he was on the camp scene always a guy who really stood out. The younger brother of Maurice Smith, who played at Alabama and Georgia, and now playing in the NFL. He's always been one of those guys who's been around. You know, when he would come to the camps with Maurice, and he was always a guy who was working on his craft. Now you're starting to see that pay dividends. And in this last week, he had a touchdown reception, a kickoff return touchdown, and an interception, which was a great one-handed interception that kind of went viral last week, touchdown as well, all in the first half. Yeah. So he's a guy who can do a little bit of everything on the field, and if you read the dump this week, you'll see that I compared him to a couple of guys, Jakeem Grant and Jay Ajayi, both guys who were tremendous Texas high school football players, two of the fastest guys I scouted, but just never emerged on the ranking scene. So let's not miss on this guy now. Yeah, he's listed as a 3-star according to 24/7's composite. It's an interesting situation there, but that's not to say he hasn't been noticed at all. I mean, he's got offers from Georgia. I mean, he's got offers from A&M. He's got some offers from big time programs around the state, or around the nation rather. So it's interesting that this is a guy who maybe flies a bit under the radar. It's going to be an argument where he fits best too. Is he? A lot of the stuff he does is a wide receiver that he gets publicized for, but could he be a cornerback? But he's definitely going to be a factor on special teams no matter where he ends up, just like we see Jakeem Grant doing now in the NFL. Finally, where are you heading this week? What do you got your eyes on? Well, I bit the bullet. I'm going to go to see Allen, Eagle Stadium. They're taking on Jesuit. I'm pretty excited about the game. Jesuit features E.J. Smith, who's a tremendous talent in the 2020 class, one of the top-rated guys. in the entire country. Of course, Allen's stacked up with talent.
Sure.
Theo Weiss, EJ Ndoma Ogar, Grant Tisdale, Jaden Jernigan in the 2019 cycle. But in 2021, they've got the Green brothers, and I'm really excited to see what that duo brings to the table. I've always got my eye on the younger guys as I go out to these games, and those are two guys I'm excited to see.
You can follow him on Twitter at gpower79 for all your recruiting info. And then, of course, check out Next Level Athlete at Next Level D1. Make sure you check out all the good stuff going on over there. And, of course, we'll have stuff at texasfootball.com. Powers, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, as always.